Even if I'm in a hurry, we should always do pleasantries. My name is Hawk, and this is my shop. This is a Royal Guard. It's from Return of the Jedi. We're making 2 outer robes. We've done the inner robes. We did the inner robes 2 weeks ago. This week we're going to do the outer robe. Should be pretty simple. There's nothing real out of the ordinary about it. So let me convert my table into sewing mode, and we'll pick it back up after that. So we're going to jump right into the thick of it. If you're going for 501st approval, we have these things called, those who don't know, the 501st is the world's largest Star Wars costuming community. They are the bad guys. The sister group is the Rebel Legion. They are the good guys. And we all have these things called CRLs, Costume Reference Library. It's a detailed breakdown of all the costumes that we currently accept as just approvable. Every region is broken down by garrison. The person who approves or doesn't approve your costume, they're called a GML. First thing you ever want to do if you're doing a Star Wars costume, join your local garrison's Facebook page or website, introduce yourself, and talk to the GML about what costume you want to work on. The more conversations you get right away, the better everything's going to be. So, if you're going for 501st approval, there's a couple of key things. Your inner robe needs to have a burgundy lining. They say velvet. I disagree with that. But that's a thing you have to discuss with your GML. So I'm going for a flat satin. Very nice. It's actually a shiny satin, but we're using the wrong side of it because I like how it looks better. I like how it gathers light better. And then the outer robe itself is red velvet. I need 4 panels. So I'm doing 2. This is all for 2, by the way. I need 4 panels that are 62 inches long each. 62 is from my neck to the floor plus an inch or 2. I'm sorry, 65. 65. Where did I get 62? The end of my ruler, 62. I need 65 inches. Super important thing here. This lining needs to be the same width as the shell. If one is bigger than the other, you're going to have a bad time. And things are going to drape weird. So this is a little wider than my velvet. My velvet's 46. This is 52. You can double up fabric. I try not to triple up or quadruple fabric, just because I don't like it moves too much. I don't like messing with it. Since I'm doing a long cut, I can fold this in half and not really worry about it. But I'm not gonna. Like I said, 65. I'm gonna give myself probably 67. 67 inches. And again, I'm American, so I'm using inches. I don't know what that is in metric. But we're making a 501st costume, so I'm working in Imperial. This fabric is not, or this tape measure, is not long enough to get the full measurement. So I'm going to measure up to 50, put a pin, and then measure the distance, or the rest. Luckily, this table is full 8 foot long. I love my table. I mentioned it last. Every time I sew, and I lay things out, and I just have all of the room I need to do everything that I need to do, I remember how much I enjoy this table. I've got the salvage end. The salvage, this is the weird end. It's got kind of odd fray to it. It's referred to as the salvage end, or edge. So the machine grips it when it makes it. So it's got a weird, different texture. But I've got it laid out against the straight edge on my mat. Because when the people at the fabric store cut the stuff that's never straight, they're in too big of a hurry. There's no way they could deal with all the people they need to deal with on a regular basis and still work at a reasonable pace. So I'm going to square up the end here. So I know I'm working with a nice straight line. We're going to measure up 65. This pin is 65 inches. Everything is flat and against a straight edge. So I know that this, since it is folded over and also against this straight edge, I know that this edge here is 90 degrees from this edge. And since that pin is at 65, if I cut that end even with that, I'll have two panels exactly at 65 inches. That's what I'm going to do now. So from far edge of the selvage to far edge of the selvage is 46 inches. So that means I need to go 23 from this fold. This is where I'm trying to decide whether I want to move everything over and save this little ribbon for something, because I may need it for some reason. It would be an 8-inch piece. There's no point. Like I said, I do not like cutting more than one at a time. But I am in a hurry and everything seems to be lined up pretty okay. Just making sure everything's lined up. Because at this point, this middle seam, way more important than anything else. Since I'm cutting off the same amount no matter what. Matter of fact, I've got clips. I'm going to clip the whole middle edge together. So I have everything nice and smooth, clipped together, my line marked. I'm just going to cut all along this edge and have my two panels. I've been sewing for a very, very long time. I'm pretty good at it. There's a moment of terror before I cut into fabric every single time. Right? There's that moment where I'm like, I'm about to mess everything up. Everybody feels it. And that's okay. If you're about to start and you're about to cut into a thing and you're like, I'm messing everything up. It's okay to feel that way. But don't let it stop you. Push comes to shove. If I mess this up, it's just fabric. I just go get some more fabric. If it were impossible to get this fabric again, I'd find something close. It's just fabric. And there's no reason for me to not just do the project. Speaking of the project, I have two more of these panels I need to cut out. So I'm going to cut the next two out and then we'll pick it back up in a minute. Fabric's been cut. It's right there on the laser cutter. This is where I'm keeping my scraps, right? Everything I cut off goes into this bag. When I'm done with the project, I throw that bag away because the 4-inch pieces that I have left aren't worth keeping. I don't have a fabric stash. I buy what I need and just what I need. I don't store fabric. It's not worth my time or mental energy to keep fabric I may someday ever need. I'd much rather go and get the yard I need if I need a yard, or the 5 yards. I'd rather get what I want than hold on to something that I may possibly need. Now we're on to the velvet. I'm going to roll it out and cut it at the same width, the same 65 inches I did for the lining. So a lot of velvet is stored with these stupid little hooks, which means you have to roll it, unhook, roll, unhook, roll, unhook, and it takes forever. I have all 4 panels cut out. I laid one out, measured it, cut it, and then just kept rolling on top and cutting them all the same. The teenager came out and gave me a hand, made it immensely easier. Doing it all on my own would have made me super frustrated, but they were just fantastic. So now that this is done being a table, I can fold everything back up. We'll set it up for sewing. We have the lining, we have the shell. I got these set up in 2, 2, 2, and 2. So we're going to sew both of them together, right side to right side. And we're only going to do it along the long selvage seam. So let me set that up real quick so I can show you what we're talking about. I've got, again, the seam with the selvage on it. I'm going to sew it just past the selvage, but as close as I can get. I don't want any of the selvage showing, so I'm going to have to be real careful, but we're going to sew this long edge, just one, on every set. And I'm just doing a straight stitch. There's no top stitching, and since the selvage is still connected, we probably won't even have to worry about any form of hem, seam. So I need to have these done in the next day or so, which makes me feel very rushed. And when I rush, I make mistakes. Take your time, do the thing, do it right. Worry about time later. Have the lining out. This is the right side facing up. There's of course our seam. I'm going to open the seams up so they are facing out like that. Don't know if you can see that. I'll try and zoom if I can. This is the top. This is now the neckline. We're going to take the velvet, put it right side down, and line it up at the seam. So I have the two seams splayed outwards, right? I'm going to sew along the top and then down the side, and then along the top and down the side, leaving the bottom completely open. I'm just going to do a simple stitch. When I get to the edges, I'm going to, just like this one, try and hug the selvage, but just past the selvage. So all I'm going to do, top stitch this. Or no, not top stitch, straight stitch this. Wait, I forgot the interesting part. We're just going to do the top, and then we'll be back in a second. So just the top. That's where things are about to get weird. I've got 2 lengths of gutted paracord, which means all of the stuff on the inside has been removed. Makes it more pliable. I'm going to loop it over like this, stitch it in place on the inside. Let me show you. All right, so we got our loop. Our loop is going to go inside. So the loop is in and the rest of this is hanging out. We're going to stitch this with a reinforced stitch, and then we're going to straight stitch the edge. So this is now locked in place. When we flip it around, it's going to have a nice little thing we can hook a button through that'll make this way more adjustable. So now I'm just going to sew all along this edge all the way down. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side too. So there are 2 loops on each side. Now we have these 2 in place. We flip everything right side out, which is real easy to do. They have a loop in each corner. So now I'm going to push the cord against the neckline, which is this top line here, and do a top stitch just barely big enough to hold both of it. I'm going to try real hard not to sew through. The cord, but first, this is the shoulder. We're going to put a little hole right here. Because those 2 paracords are going to become a drawstring. So I'm going to do a top stitch about 1/2 inch all along to trap the drawstring in place. So when we tighten it, it'll give us those nice scallops. I have to decide what buttons I want to put on them. I haven't done that just yet. But it overlaps by a good couple of inches, right? About 5 to 6. So now it gets cinched around the neck, and that gives us this. And it looks a little weird without the bucket on. I've had my guard for about a decade now, and I've worn him to hundreds of troops. Were I to make it from scratch all over again with 10 years worth of experience, this is how I would make it. This, I think, is the right way to do it. This neckline is infinitely adjustable. Once the bucket is on, everything scallops like it's supposed to. The split isn't connected, and it's not supposed to be. Right? In the scene, the deleted scene where the guards flip up their force pikes, you can clearly see that it's not connected, and it just overlaps. But now we're on to hemming. I have the mannequin set to my height, so I know exactly where I want the hem to be, which is right here. It should just be above the ground. It shouldn't touch the ground. So I'm going to put a pin in that. Through both the lining and the shell. And then we'll do the same thing at the shoulder, because the shoulder's a little different for height. Just above the ground is right there. All right, so let's take this off. Let's take this off him and set it on the table and see where we're at. So this is my hemline, right? For me, it's 3 inches on the side and 5 inches in the front, because the side comes up over the shoulder. So this has to be longer, and since it's just straight down in the front, it can be shorter in the front. So this is exactly where my hem needs to end. It's been cut to length. I've added 2 inches for seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up 1 inch and fold, and then fold again, and there's my hem. Pin it, straighten that out, and there's the rest of my hem. And I'm going to continue to pin like that all the way around. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the entire process. Measure up 1 inch, fold, fold. I've pinned all the way around. For a guy who doesn't pin, sure I'm pinning a lot on this one. But I gave it a nice 1 inch seam. I like the hefty weight on it. The CRL doesn't say anything about top stitching. I top stitched mine and I'm not happy with it. I'm not going to top stitch this one though. The hem's going to be top stitched, but that's it. I don't know that I know anyone who has seen an actual screen used Royal Guard. I'm sure they have to exist. LFL's got them. I'm somewhere. I wonder if Dr. Reynolds has seen it. I should ask him. Anyway, 1-inch seam. I'm going to top stitch. The red that I'm using matches this velvet real well, so it's not going to be seen on the outside. It's going to be seen on the burgundy. There's nothing you can do about it. I've decided to not stitch the front and the back together at the bottom. I believe it was French military that did that. That had their capes were two separate pieces. If one of them pulls more than the other, it would balloon weird, and I like the sleek flatness of it. So I'm going to do a top stitch all the way around, and then I think I'm done. Oh, and for the three of you wondering, yes, I am absolutely stitching over these needles. There he is, hemmed and finished. I am super happy with him. Needs a bucket, doesn't he? Suppose I can grab mine. He's a little dusty though, so I'm going to wipe him off first. There we go. He's done. I'm pretty happy with him. Now to do it to the other one. That's my problem, not yours. Last thing to do is a force pike. Force pike's going to be super quick, super easy. It's just 3D printing and then putting some things on the thing, and that's it. But that's next week. If you're interested in seeing the final bit to this guy, think about sticking around. Hey, thanks for making it to the end. I appreciate it. I do have channel membership. I got 4 members. They're fantastic. It justifies what I'm doing. It makes me feel like it's worth recording. Especially on a video like this. Sewing videos don't do well. But it doesn't really matter. I'm not doing it for just the views. I am doing it for views, but not just for views. So if you think I've earned it, maybe hit a like, subscribe, comment, share, watch the next video. I got a couple of them. You can choose. So either way, thanks for making it to the end, and hope to see you next time.